Every day this month, we're bringing you a brand new video. All I ask that you do is click the red subscribe button below. I think we're only about 45 subscribers away from the 44,000 mark. So if you haven't already, please click the red subscribe button below and we'll get into today's video. Yes, folks, welcome back to the channel. It's another transfer update. It's Thursday, the 9th of January, and we've got some new transfer news to talk about. Before we get into that, we'll talk, I suppose, about last night's game against Dundee United. A really good win for us. I expected it to be a difficult game. Dundee United have done well this season. You know that they're going to be difficult to beat. We saw that at Tannadice in the way that they played. And I think you could see a contrast in their approach to the first half and second half last night. First half, they were obviously just trying to contain us, really limit the scoreline as low as they could, and then come out and try and be more adventurous, try and be more attacking and have a go in the second half. For us, it wasn't the most blistering performance, although in the first half I thought we were very good. I thought we moved the ball really well. We pinned them back. I thought some of the intricate football around the box was really good at times. Could maybe have had another goal to reflect our dominance of the game. So I thought the first half was really good. Didn't have as much control second half. As I say, Dundee United come out and try and be a bit more attacking, try and go for it to get an equaliser in the game. It's one of those games deep in the winter, -5, horrible conditions, but we come out with 3 points. We move 16 clear. With Rangers playing at Dens tonight, we're such a commanding position, such a comfortable position the team is in, and that was another good 3 points for us last night. Now then, let's turn to the transfer news then, and I'm sure we were all shocked as each other when we learned after the game last night that the MLS had announced that Atlanta United had signed Kyogo during the game last night. They made the announcement on the website, and then they obviously deleted the post. Atlanta did sign a Japanese striker yesterday, but it wasn't Kyogo. But that's a bit of a strange thing. Obviously, they were linked with him last week. Ronnie Dylas took over there. There was talk of a £10 million bid being made or interest there in Kyogo, and nothing came of it. Nothing has came of it yet, but that's enough to worry you last night. I don't know if that's just a complete admin error at the MLS and somebody's put up the wrong post or somebody's been misinformed, or of course the worst case scenario is that they are going to try and sign Kyogo and they're close to it and somebody's pushed the button too early. According to sources in Scotland, Celtic have had no contact and no bids placed for Kyogo, which I suppose is good news, but all of this stuff begs the question, is Kyogo's exit ominous? Is it imminent? Obviously, everybody's going to leave at some stage, but you get the feeling with Kyogo, if you go back to the summer, where he changed agent, and then we had the Man City links right at the end of the transfer window, which came out of nowhere, which seemed really strange, and that could have just been an agent putting out a story to sort of drum up interest and get attention on the player. And then you have this again approaching the January transfer window, Atlanta linked with him, and it just seems like these things are growing arms and legs. And if you look at his form this season, how he fits in the Brendan Rodgers style of play, going back to last season, he obviously struggled to adapt. He's so used to the Ange Postecoglou style of play where everything was geared towards him. It was about feeding him the ball, getting him in the game, getting into situations where he could be on the end of cutbacks, the end of low crosses, balls over the top into the space behind the defenders, constantly playing on the shoulder. Everything was geared around him. It's not now. Brendan Rodgers' style is totally different. It's a lot more patient in the build-up. The wingers are a lot more important in terms of goals and assists, and we don't have that same style that is so beneficial for Kyogo, and that's why his goal return has dropped since Rodgers came to the club. So there is this feeling that Kyogo's going to leave sooner rather than later. I would hope it's not this month. For all him and Ida haven't been prolific this season so far, I think it'd be a big ask for us to go and replace him in January. I think the summer's another matter. I think that we could well see Kyogo leave the club this summer. It may be that he's naturally coming towards the end of his cycle here, but I think the main element here is how he fits in Brendan Rodgers' style of play. I think without overanalyzing and trying to read into body language and stuff, he doesn't look like he's enjoying it as much as he did under Postecoglou. Of course not. He's a striker. He's not scoring as many goals. He's not as involved in the games as he used to be. But having said that, he's always been a bit peripheral. He needs the service to him in the right areas, but he doesn't look like his usual self. I don't think if you look at the last sort of 12 to 18 months compared to the previous 2 years, he does look slightly different, and I think it's natural that we're going to see him leave the club very soon. Now, whenever that day comes, I'll be heartbroken because he is my favourite player that's played for Celtic since Henrik Larsson. Everybody that watches this channel knows that, and I will need to get the mural changed behind me. But it's a bit concerning. Let's hope it doesn't happen in this month of January. I think it's a really big ask for us to go and replace him. And again, looking at Ida's form, he's not exactly hitting the heights right now either. Where if we lose Kyogo, we're solely reliant on Ida, and after that, you're looking at Maeda through the middle. And if Kuhn's obviously been a huge goal threat for us this season, but if anything was to happen to him in terms of his fitness, I think it'd be a huge loss to not have Kyogo there to turn to. He's obviously been a terrific player for us. I think he's only about 17 or 18 goals short of 100 for the club. That's a landmark I would love to see him get, but it just feels as time goes on that he is going to leave sooner rather than later. So we'll keep an eye on it. Let's hope it doesn't happen this month, as I say. And there's nothing in that MLS deleted post yesterday, and nothing in the links to going to join Ronny Deila in America. So that's it for Kyogo. If we look at other links to players who might move on for Celtic, we've got one done deal actually. Obviously, Stephen Welsh joined Mechelen today. It was confirmed 6-month loan deal. Looking at Stephen Welsh's contract, it still runs until summer 2027. So whether or not he's going to do well there, and then they might look at trying to get a permanent transfer done in summer, I don't know if he's going to come back and then maybe look for a move elsewhere. As I said at the start of the month, I think it's the right thing for Welsh in his career to go and play now. He's not been involved so much this season, so that's a good move for him. In other news, Rayo Vallecano have been linked with a move for Luis Palma. Apparently, according to Estadio Deportivo in Spain, they have agreed terms with the player. They're yet to agree a deal with Celtic. It's rumoured to be a loan deal to the end of the season with a €2.5 million option to buy. Now, if that was to transpire, it would represent a loss on Luis Palma. I think he came to the club for around £3.5 million. So €2.5 million, you're looking at just over £2 million. So it would be a loss. I think the Palma transfer hasn't quite worked out. He did get off to a good start last season. He scored some big goals. He scored in the Champions League. You could tell he has an ability to strike the ball, and he's technically very good. You even see that last night when he comes on against Dundee United, and he does put a lovely cross in with outside his right foot to the back post for Maeda to cut back for Hatate's goal. But there's no getting away from the fact that he has cut a frustrated figure, and he's underwhelmed in the chances that he's had this season, and that's not just based on a couple of appearances off the bench. He did have a start against Falkirk where he was really poor. He had a start against Dundee during a midweek game at home in the league, and he was really disappointing as well. And that's the thing. I know that some people say, well, it's hard for these guys because they've never had a run of games, but you don't get a run of games when you get a chance, you get a start. You need to prove to the manager you deserve a run of games. The manager can't just give somebody 5 or 6 weeks to start looking good to see if they get up to speed. That's not how it works. We've obviously had such good service from the wide areas with Maeda and Kuhn, and when Palma's had his opportunities this season, he has let us down. So I think it makes sense for him to move on again, as I touched on at the start of the month. Whether this Vallecano move will materialise, we'll wait and see in the next few days. But again, that report from Spain is suggesting that there's a deal there with the player, and it's just a matter of sorting things with Celtic now. Interesting to see if he'll be involved at the weekend, how quickly it's going to move. I think there's maybe even a chance to say that he could be involved from the start at the weekend. I did see the game back last night, and Daizen Maeda's coming off, sort of feeling his groin a wee bit towards the end, and he did look a bit tired. Maeda's obviously, his stamina is incredible, his work rate's incredible, but I think given the volume of games, you could see last night, just towards the end, he does really well for the cutback. For Hatate's goal, but just a couple of times he's breaking his neck again to close people down all the time. But you could tell just after the volume of games, he did look tired, and he never looks tired, so that tells you the fatigue that's building up with these number of games. So we'll see what happens with Palma. In terms of ins, no real movement yet. The Tierney stuff has obviously gone quiet, apart from the songs in the stands, of course. Nothing new on that. Whether it's going to be a loan deal this month, it looks like it was going to be. And if you go back to last week when the stories peaked, it looked like it was very, very close. But again, no news as of yet. And in terms of other areas, we obviously talked last night in the full-time reaction about the wide areas. Kuhn doesn't play because he comes out with an injury for the starting lineup last night. Forrest is out for 6 weeks. You've got Yang and Palma there as backup, other than Maeda. So I think that's an area we really need to look at. I think the club will be looking at it, but again, no real concrete news, links, rumours as of yet. I did see some murmurings about Matthias Kvitsgarden. Again, we've been linked with him for 2 or 3 windows in a row now. It almost gets to the stage with a player where if there's been links and rumours for 2, 3, 4 consecutive windows, it's almost never going to happen. That's essentially it as a supporter. But we'll keep an eye on any more rumours of players coming in. As I say, we're only at the 9th of January. Looking at the situation for the team, I don't think there's as much of a need and an urgency to bring players in as there was if you go back to last January. And everybody was a bit concerned about the lack of business and how long it took to do the business. I don't think there's quite that same feeling this year because we're in such a commanding position domestically. I know we've got the Champions League there, and hopefully if we can secure a playoff place, then you really would be looking for the club to improve and see if we can just get to that next level, and if we get a kind draw, then really compete in that playoff to try and get to the last 16. But those are the challenges for the club this month. I think it is important to get players like Welsh and maybe like Palma, 1 or 2 others as well, move them on because they're not playing and not contributing. I think the manager's been able to rotate a lot this season, and I think that those core group of players that he's used have all contributed very well, but there is 3 or 4 who are just on the periphery there and haven't been involved. It makes sense to move them on and see if we can get 1 or 2 quality additions in to just push the guys that are there and help share the load, given that the number of games this season is through the roof with the new Champions League format. I think you even feel that as a supporter. The number of games, particularly in January, you're used to the winter break, but it's a game every 3 days, and we go to the Highlands again at the weekend, so the games are coming thick and fast, and I think we do need 1 or 2 additions in key areas just to help the squad, just to help try and push us on. And again, it's particularly with a view to progressing in the Champions League as well. So there you go. That rounds up today's transfer update. I'll be back with you tomorrow to talk about that game against Ross County, and we'll go through the starting 11 prediction then. Please like the video. Don't forget to comment with your own thoughts on everything we've discussed today below. And we'll see you tomorrow with that starting 11. Cheers.